All right, I think we are about ready to begin. I want to say good afternoon and good morning to everyone. Good afternoon on the East Coast and everyone west of that for joining us. We have another great turnout. We are very excited about today's topic as it is very near and dear to our hearts. We're going to be talking about venue analytics today and how they will look to forever change game day efficiency. I'm Jake Eisbart, part of the marketing team here at NIMBL. A little bit about us. We are part of the Techedge Group, and we are SAP technologists and SAP ecosystem thought leaders. Our consulting business, which is about 75% of our business, covers cross industries 24/7, and we also do AMS support as well. Here are a list of some of the services that we offer. Obviously, today we'll be talking about a couple, SAP Cloud Platform, Analytics, and HANA. And here are some of the customers that we work with. We are delighted to have worked with SAP Press on a number of books. One in particular is SAP Cloud Platform, among the others that you see on the screen. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We want to be able to answer as many questions as possible. So if you'll take a look at the chat box in your the lower left-hand corner of the screen, feel free to type in any question for Michael, either throughout the presentation or at the end, and we will address them at the end. Before we get started, I want to just take a couple poll questions so that we can kind of get a lay of the land and Michael can tailor the presentation. The first poll question is, does your company leverage front-end data visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, Looker, or SAP Analytics? So feel free to add in some of those. All right, we'll give people a couple seconds to fill that out. All right, and we'll jump to the next poll question. How do you aggregate or collect data from your various data sources today? Which is a key component of venue analytics. Do you do it manually through Microsoft Excel and CSV? Does your BI team have a particular tool that they use? Do you use SAP BW, SAP Business Objects, or SAP Cloud Platform? Or are you currently not aggregating or correlating, collecting from data sources? All right, and the last poll question before we get started. Does your company utilize cloud-based applications for analytics today? And that's yes, you're going on Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google Cloud. You are currently an SAP customer. You have a niche solution that you're using, or not at the time you're running all your applications on-premise. All right. Great, let's get started. I'm going to hand it over to our presenter. Our presenter is Michael Pytel. He's a certified resource possessing over 10 years of technical SAP implementation experience. He's led numerous business transformation projects. He is a nationally recognized speaker who presents at SAP conferences across the country, and he is author of the SAP Press book, Implementing SAP Business Suite on SAP HANA. And we're excited to have him here today, so I'm going to turn it over to Mike. Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Jake, for the introduction. Excited to share some content today around venue analytics. This is an offering that we created earlier Q1 of this year and have been supporting throughout the year, refining and changing the way that we build and deliver this solution. Now, our solution is a blend of multiple SAP tools and resources, and we have the ability to deploy analytics over buildings and venues to really try to create smart buildings, right? Smart venues. Figure out if it's from a people perspective or a purchasing perspective, what are the different behaviors going on in a building? What are the activities or actions, external or internal, that are dictating how people are flowing through a building, or dictating where people are entering or how they're entering and where they're spending money and where they're not spending money, and correlating that with weather and traffic, etc. Now, from a data source perspective, what you need to take away from this presentation is that SAP's analytic tool sets enable you to connect to any data source, right? It's any API-based data source. An API-based data source might be Google Traffic or Weather Underground for weather. Databases might be Ticketmaster, right? If you're an organization that's using Ticketmaster today as a vendor for ticket management, they provide what's called copy node access. IoT sensors, right? SAP Cloud Platform has the ability to integrate data from devices communicating over IP, like IP cameras, or IoT sensors that are sensing vibration, temperature, moisture, etc. And we also have the ability to do flat files. So no data source left untouched when it comes to using the Venue Analytics solution from SAP. Now, a couple other things we're going to talk about today is computer vision and machine learning. I have some use cases and descriptions of how that might integrate with Venue Analytics. But again, our goal here with Venue Analytics is for those organizations managing multiple facilities, a single facility, whether that's an airport or a stadium or a collection of stadiums for a college campus, or even potentially large manufacturing facilities. How can we gather data about the activities inside of our venue or building, correlate that data live in real time, and display it on dashboards to understand the different activities that are going on in our organization. And then based on KPIs and thresholds, trigger alerts, trigger actions, trigger emails, trigger SMS texts, trigger an interactive notice on a dashboard, and more importantly, have all of this data aggregated and correlated live with no background jobs and no batch reporting. Right, we're leveraging the power of an in-memory database from SAP called SAP HANA, which is storing those KPIs and thresholds in memory real time, negating the need for background jobs and background processes to occur. Right, we don't need to calculate. We don't need to have a background job calculate people entering from different entry, egress, or ingress points in a venue. That data is reported real time, calculated and tallied in memory in what's called a calculated view, and presented to a dashboard. And again, we're trying to make sure that this control center or this dashboard is accessible anywhere, whether that's on a large format TV, on a tablet, on a cell phone, or on a desktop. Right? We want to enable access to anybody, anywhere, anytime. We don't want to have them jump on a VPN. We don't want them to have to work on a specific device or terminal. If they're permitted and authorized to access the application, we want to make sure that they can get to it. Jumping into a use case, NIMBL had the opportunity to work with SAP and the 49ers organization to deploy this analytics solution to Levi Stadium for both their football and non-football events. It started up top with SAP Analytics Cloud being sort of the front-end visualization tool, the tool where we display the data. In the middle of the screen, we have where we store the data. This is SAP HANA Database as a Service. And just above that in yellow, you can see sort of the microservices that are available also as part of the SAP Cloud Platform, which enable us to have different integration services, connect with IoT devices, advanced analytics and predictive analytics capabilities, integration with machine learning tools, and then again that mobile device access that I talked about. Now, specific to the 49ers, some data sources that we connected to live in real time was Ticketmaster, right, for gate scans, knowing who's coming into the building, at what entrance, at what time, etc. Park Hub for parking statistics. For the 49ers organization and Levi Stadium, they partner with Park Hub as a platform to manage parking pre-sales, parking a lot of attendance, same-day sales. And Park Hub was a great organization to work with because they have APIs available. Levy and Venue Next managed food and beverage for Levi Stadiums. They end up using a retail point of sale system called Micros. Fanatics, another retail system using Micros. We partner with the NFL on their API to bring data in from the NFL and game statistics, social media data, weather data, and we had a couple of other data sources just right in a room on the slide. But essentially, all of this data is streaming into the SAP HANA database and presented in SAP Analytics Cloud in a way that allows us to correlate and interpret the data. So we're seeing the flow of people parking and where they're parking and what lots are full, half full, or almost full, and that allows us to adjust signage or directions. So if we get a lot of scans that say wrong lot, right, we know that our signage is wrong and we need to direct people to the right parking lot. From a Ticketmaster perspective, we know what the volume of ticket scans is at each gate, and if there's a higher volume at one gate or another, then we could reassign staff potentially, right? If that was an appropriate response to that condition, we could do that. from a retail perspective, measuring the retail performance of different terminals throughout the stadium and understanding, well, the average transactions in a 10-minute period is 11. And for this terminal, it's now at 2. Well, something's wrong. Either the terminal's broken or the person operating the terminal hasn't been trained and is having some challenges. So let's send a team member, a supervisor, down to that area to investigate why is this terminal or set of terminals behind its normal game day average. And of course, we're correlating all this data during the game with the actual team score, team possession. We're integrating with social media and fan feedback. We're going to talk about happy or not in a little bit. And we're also integrating this with weather, right? Was the weather bad at an event, and that's why people are arriving late, or was it really hot? They arrived early to tailgate. Do we see more people floating to the club level and enjoying bars and restaurants inside the stadium or outside the stadium, right? Being able to correlate all that data to make decisions about how to staff the different areas of a venue. Now, SAP has a product called the Digital Boardroom, which is a device from Avicor, and there's devices from Cisco and Microsoft, et cetera, that allow us to have a large format TV that we can touch and interact with. So this Digital Boardroom enables you to interact with these analytics by touching on a large format screen and being able to drill down into data. So instead of just being able to look at a high-level KPI of our per cap revenue, right? What's the revenue per person in a stadium? We could actually drill down into that number and see what's driving that number. Is it food sales? Is it merchandise sales? Et cetera, et cetera. Now, what you're seeing on the screen now is the actual build-out at the Levi Stadium. It was a very cool opportunity where they had a suite that was dedicated here for us to both entertain special guests of the 49ers organization, but also have the analytics and operations team sit in a suite above the game, have a large format touchscreen, have the data available, and then what you're not seeing in the picture is a whole series of walkie-talkies and laptops that usually exist in the room, right? As different activities are happening in the stadium and different KPIs or thresholds, they're using two-way radios to radio supervisor. They're using text messaging to reach out to different personnel, concierges, salespeople, et cetera. So a very cool solution. Now, what I'm showing you on this screen now is an example of the SAP Analytics Cloud data visualization tool. And this is a traditional use case that we have on the screen, sales volume and open sales orders, right? This is, we're taking enterprise-grade technology and kind of extending it down to venues. So by default, when you build an Analytics Cloud dashboard, you get great color schemes, you get time series and bar charts. You can see up top here, if I clicked on this time series and I drug it over, it would all dynamically change the content. If I had selected a different dimension like customer, it would change the content. But most importantly, with SAP Analytics Cloud, we have the ability to brand and theme the analytics dashboard to reflect the customer, the operating environment, the venue, the building, the airport, et cetera. And so what you're looking at now is that same tool, SAP Analytics Cloud, but we've adjusted the branding and the theming to be appropriate for a sports venue, for an NFL team. Now, the numbers here are completely dummy and mocked up. We wanted just to share some examples. To walk you through this dashboard, for every KPI you see in the dashboard, you have the current value and then a reference event. And a reference event could be a prior day, a prior time we played that team, a prior Monday night game, a prior Sunday night game, a prior Sunday afternoon game, et cetera. So we're always comparing our current progress in an event to a prior event. Down on the bottom, we have sales by different areas where I can drill into. On the bottom right, we have what are the worst performing stands compared to average. What are the worst performing stands in our stadium right now? And we're displaying that data. So again, we're providing not just the top 10. We want to know where we can improve. So we're applying data around the bottom 10 performing concessionaires inside of our stadium right now, so that we can maybe figure out a way to go change that interactively in game. This dashboard starts collecting data 4 hours before game day, because we have different pregame activities, suite activities. We're collecting that data. We know who's parking. We know who's in the stadium. And then we've also deployed what this acronym here, HON, means is happy or not. If you think through a venue you've been to or through an airport and you've seen the little button terminal that says, how was your experience today? It has a green button for happy and a red button for sad. This is the rating of what are fans telling us about their experience at different points in the stadium. and we're aggregating all this data real time. The 49ers have over 100 terminals deployed in Levi's Stadium, so that they're able to measure that fan feedback. We're correlating and aggregating it, storing it real time, and then we're able to measure. All right, we have a bad performing concessionaire on level 2. So if I go to the 200 level for happy or not, and I can see some unhappy fans in that stadium, then we know something's wrong with that area. So again, we're aggregating and correlating this data real time. Another dive into the fan feedback dashboard. Again, this is directly correlated to the buttons on the Happy or Not terminal. Happy or Not is a wonderful organization that partners with a variety of building operators and venues. It enables you to deploy these terminals. Again, they connect to Wi-Fi, so we need to have that infrastructure in the stadium kind of deployed. But we can now deploy these fan feedback terminals and get to understand how are people feeling about their experience in the venue today. We can also correlate this with the team performance. If we get a lot of unhappy fans and the team is losing, then we know that the fan is not necessarily having a bad experience in the venue because of the venue. They're just having a bad experience because of the team's losing. So again, all of these button presses are reported to us real time. We're aggregating, correlating them. And if I wanted to drill into retail, right, I could click on the screen, drill down into retail, and see specific retail stands. In terms of the bottom 10 terminals over here on the right side of the screen, here again, you can see the last change, the number of records. So these are the number of button presses. I should say that we do have logic in here as well. We don't count every button press. So if you walked up to a terminal and hit your unhappy 10 times in a row in subsequent seconds, then we're going to only count that one time, right? We're not someone just can't stand at a terminal and just hit unhappy all day long. So we put in some logic in here. We understand what terminals are deployed where in the facility and where are fans reporting an unhappy experience within our venue. Here within parking data, again, I just wanted to highlight that we're always correlating the data, right? What do we have sold today versus what did we have to our comparison event? In this example, we're comparing to the prior time we played this team. And so we're 10% above where we were the last time we played this team. On the right side of the screen is the important information. There are many analytic tools that can do geospatial analytics by city, state, and county. But SAP Analytics Cloud allows us to do custom shapes on geographic maps. So in this example, we've outlined the different stadiums the different parking lots around the stadium, and we're shading those parking lots based on their fill rate. We understand the lots, we understand the capacity, the scan, the variance, the errors. Errors is super important, right? 9,700 errors, again, in this mock data here. Typically, those errors up here on the right you can see is invalid barcode or wrong lot. Wrong lot's super important because we know our signage could be wrong. Sorry about that. Little too much excitement at the soccer game last night. Throat's a little hoarse from yelling at a bunch of 8-year-old kids. But anyways, errors per group, errors per lot, super important as you're going through the game, collecting this data real time. Understanding your fill rate, understanding how you're performing against the reference game, or reference event. Very cool dashboard. Attendance, same thing. I think one thing that I always look at here is the comp show rate, right? For all the comp tickets that we hand out to our business partners, our trading partners, what's the show rate? Because if those comp tickets go unused, I mean, that's potentially revenue that I'm losing as well. Right, so if Budweiser hands out comp tickets to their employees attend the game, well, typically they're buying beer, they're buying food, they're buying merchandise. So we want to make sure we have a good comp show rate to make sure our vendors and our partners are sending people to the games. We want to be able to hold them accountable. So we have a 90% show rate here, total attendance. Again, these are mocked up numbers. They're not real. We're just showing the layout of the dashboard, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this dashboard's live during the game. So 3 hours before kick, it starts when the gates open. We understand volume. We understand who's coming in what gate so that we're able to drive workforce, staff to those different gates. And again, here we have our error types, rejected, wrong gates, duplicate tickets, things like that. So again, very easy to interpret. A person should be able to look at this dashboard and really kind of understand quickly, how am I performing against a reference event? It's not just to say I've got 400,000 people or 40,000 people in the stadium. It's important to know compared to this time, this point in the game, right, an hour before kick today compared to the prior event, how am I performing? Retail, obviously super important to that per cap number from a fan perspective of what's our revenue per fan. We, again, have the ability to break down by concourse level, by area, by type, and then we're breaking down in terms of spend, what we're spending. But more importantly, we're calculating the average transaction value. These are very high transaction values. Again, it's that dummy data. But a real-world scenario, during the second regular season game, we had a member of the retail operations staff in the suite, and they saw that for a specific kiosk, transaction volume dipped to $14 a transaction, where normally we would expect it to be in the $30 to $40 range. And so we knew there was a problem. So the radio went down. We went to a supervisor. Supervisor went over the area. It was one of those mobile carts where, unfortunately, half of the cart was closed accidentally. The team member working the stand didn't know what they were doing. They weren't operating the terminal. They had a lot of abandons. People standing in line to buy that weren't buying because they were just frustrated with that experience. If you go back a year and a half, 2 years ago, right, they would have seen that average transaction value in an analytic report 2 days after the game. But now, because we have this real-time dashboard, we're measuring ourselves real-time, minute by minute throughout the game, we're able to take corrective actions in-game. You know, for the NFL, 8 home games a year, 2 preseason games, and potentially some concerts and some soccer games, you know, the ability to react in-game is super important because you have that lower frequency. For baseball and basketball, again, we can adapt this dashboard for the high volume, high frequency of those events. But again, being able to react in-game is super, super important. Now, in terms of mobile app and mobile attendance, really what I want you to pay attention to is just the screenshot on the left. We have the ability to send text messages to different staff members, team members, based on different KPIs and thresholds. So one scenario that we set up was text messaging to sales reps when their season ticket member is checked into the stadium. And so we want to be able to alert our salespeople when a season ticket holder is on site and has arrived. That way that salesperson can go to their seat or suite and greet them and thank them for being a customer. We've also dabbled with sending text message information to that salesperson around what is the fan's name, what is the fan's spouse's name, what are the fan's kids' names, when was the last time that person interacted with us. That way that salesperson now has detail in a text message that's context, that's specific to the context of that fan, giving that salesperson that intelligence to have a real-world conversation with the fan, making that fan feel engaged. The other area that we're using SMS texting is to let different concierge team members and supervisors know fill rates in different parts of the stadium or different special areas. If we have people scanning into a meet and greet event and we know the capacity of the room is 80 and we hit 80, we want to text that concierge to alert them that you're at max capacity for this room. You can't permit other people in that room. So very cool capability of integrating with text messages and mobile devices. Now, in order to drive a project to completion, we use an agile methodology where we break up we go through a design thinking session and we design the dashboard specific to that venue, that team, the KPIs that they're worried about. We do mock-ups and get a sign-off on a visual design to say, yep, this is what we want. We carve that up into development sprints. And these projects are typically 3 to 3.5 months in duration. Data acquisition is, as you can anticipate, the hardest part, right? Working with the various vendors to acquire the data that we need, working with Micros and Oracle and the concessionaire, or NCR, or Appetize, right? Just getting the API keys and connectivity set up so that we can snag that data real time, storing the data modeling, and then putting security around the data, because for any organization, there are different levels of security. At the VP of operations level, at the team owner level, ownership level, they obviously need the ability to see all data all the time. But maybe a season ticket salesperson doesn't need to see concession data, right? They just need to see attendance data. That's really all they need. So SAP Analytics Cloud has its own security model built in where we can disseminate and distribute access to personnel by different object types. So a very important part of that project to make sure that we're operating in a secure environment. Now, in terms of thinking big and thinking beyond what we did at the 49ers, we have the ability also to integrate into computer vision, which enables us to count people within a frame or within a section or an object within a frame. And so if you think about counting people in concession lines, this is a super cool capability to be able to look at a specific part of the stadium and count the people in line real time, have a dashboard and a KPI. So we know at this concession it's acceptable to have 15 to 20 people in line. But when that line hits 30 people, then we want a text message or send an alert to a concierge to direct them to either get more staff within that area and or direct people to a different concession stand that has a lower volume. So being able to have to be able to have that real-time notification is fantastic. There is no one vendor that does computer vision. We have multiple vendors. In this example, I'm using Amazon Recognition. Google has their offering. Azure, Cisco has their offering, etc. Wanted to not let you think that Amazon's the only game in town. Multiple vendors exist. I know in the venue and stadium world, we look at different partnerships for ways to use software. But we can count this. We can count this data. We can count people in a frame, stream the data to SAP Analytics Cloud, and then decide what we want to do. Right? And it doesn't just work in a small space. We can have a camera operating over a large section of area and count the number of people as well. Correlate that data with different data sources. So correlate the number of people waiting to enter the game with the volume of ticket scans to make sure that's appropriate. And then sending SMS alerts and being able to have visibility into that data. I think this is a real world use case that's super achievable with the innovation that multiple vendors are offering now from a computer vision perspective. This is the same technology autonomous cars use to avoid hitting pedestrians. So very achievable, very easy to consume. Another thing that we can do with data collected through Venue Analytics is apply machine learning. If you think of a scenario where you have a fan that is a season ticket holder, and we're capturing the interactions that fan has with our team, whether it's are they attending games? Are they selling tickets on the third-party marketplace? Meaning they're a season ticket holder, but they're always selling their tickets on NFL Ticket Exchange, or NBA or MLB, etc. Right? This is not just specific to the NFL. Right, we have their attendance data. If you have a loyalty program, we're capturing their purchasing data. If they have, whether it's MLB, NFL, or NBA shop, right, and they have a profile there integrating into their wish lists of what they want to buy from the NFL shop or NBA shop, and integrating with their social media posts, because we have the ability to measure sentiment about Twitter posts, Facebook posts, fan sentiment, fan feedback from happy or not terminals. We have all that data, and then being able to correlate that, apply a machine learning model to direct sales activities when we have a season ticket member that potentially is likely to not renew their season tickets. So the way that we build these machine learning models is we take in the history data that we have, and this could be any CRM tool. This could be SAP's Cloud for Customer or SAP HANA. This could be Dynamics CRM. This could be Salesforce. More than likely, your organization has a CRM tool that your sales team is using to track different season ticket members, to track who your prospects are, who you're selling to. And you have a measurement of these are the activities that I had. I emailed this customer, I talked to this customer, I invited them to 6 and 7 events, and then they became a season ticket member. So we have this pattern of activities that converted that person from a prospect into a season ticket member. Well, let's take all that history, load it in a machine learning model, take in current fan data, and then make predictions or create sales activities to say, hey, here's your bottom 10, right? Salesperson X. Here are the 10 season ticket holders that you have under your book that are the least likely to renew their season tickets. So we're going to create sales activities for you to talk to them more, to email them more, to invite them to more special events, to ensure that they continue being a season ticket member. SAP Cloud Platform provides this openness, this ability to integrate with multiple machine learning platforms. Earlier I talked about Amazon's computer vision. Here I'm talking about Google's machine learning. This could be Azure, this could be Cisco, this could be a lot of different platforms. It's not specific to a single one. But the magic of all of this is this middleware tool from SAP called Integration Services. This is the piece that has the adapter to get data from anywhere and send data to anywhere. Whether it's an API hitting NFL, whether it's a database read from Ticketmaster, or an API to Happy or Not, or a flat file from Micros for food and beverage, or an API to NCR, an API to Appetize. This is the tool that enables us to query all of those data sources, set up APIs so we get real-time data from those third-party vendors, correlating it, storing it in SAP HANA, real time. This is an all cloud solution. For the 49ers deployment, right, this is an all cloud-based solution with very minimal uplift in terms of IT operational costs and server and software. Now, before I leave you talking about Venue Analytics, I wanted to let you know that SAP Analytics Cloud doesn't just do Venue Analytics, right? When you buy the Analytics Cloud to support your Venue Analytics project, remember, SAP Analytics Cloud is what CFOs and controllers use at the Fortune 500 to create dashboards on financial performance. It's what supply chain planners use at HP and John Deere to plan what are they producing, where are they producing, and where's their shortage of supply. Analytics Cloud is not just an analytics tool for venues, it's an analytics tool for all data sources. So if a venue or a team or a university or an airport purchases SAP Analytics Cloud, yes, you can deploy the venue analytics portion of it, but you can also deploy the solution to your finance team, your ops team, your security team, your supply chain team if you're buying and procuring goods. It's an analytics solution that crosses the entire enterprise, not just the venue analytics. Now today I talked about, again, using SAP Analytics Cloud for the venue, for a building. SAP Analytics Cloud is also integrated with predictive analytics. For those of you that are aware or know of R programming, we do get some out-of-the-box predictive algorithms from SAP that we can use and apply to forecast time series data. But if you had a data scientist in your organization who knew R programming, SAP Analytics Cloud supports full R programming within the suite of tools as well. It also has a tool called Smart Discovery, where I feed it a data set and it tells me about my data and what's the correlation between the different data sets and what's driving either an increase in sales behavior or a decrease in buying behavior, etc. So a lot of very cool tools that I didn't talk about today in Venue Analytics, but SAP Analytics Cloud should be considered as a total analytic platform for both the venue team as well as the ops team, finance team, accounting, etc., etc. And lastly, I wanted to point out that with all of the data displayed on a dashboard, SAP also has a plugin for Excel that's included in this license. So at the end of the day, if I'm a user that just likes Excel, but I want to connect to that same data model that I'm using for Venue Analytics or finance or supply chain, then I can open Excel and I can connect to that data model, and everybody's reading from that same data set. We're not working from siloed data copies and downloads. So with that, Jake, I'd like to pass it over to you to open it up for questions.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Before we get to questions, we put out in the chat box that if you are interested in getting a demo video, just type the word demo into the chat box, and we'll make sure that you get it. And we're just going to end before we get to questions with just a couple more full questions as a follow-up to the demo video. Would you like some more information on Venue Analytics? We can provide you with infographics, case studies, as well as the demo video. So feel free to fill that out. We see some more questions coming in. Give people a little bit more time to fill that out. And specific to some of the services that we mentioned, what was most interesting in terms of this presentation? Which topic? All of it, being able to pull multiple data sources from SAP Cloud Platform, being able to visualize data with SAP Analytics Cloud, or not a single bit of it. We won't be offended. We're going to have a lot of Venue Analytics webinars coming up in the future, and we want to be able to work off of that and build it. So, all right, so let's get to some questions. First question for Mike is from Gary. Gary asks, how many stadiums have implemented Venue Analytics to date? I don't know if that's North America or global, but I'm sure you can answer that question.
Yes, right now the solution, it really is tip of the spear, bleeding edge technology. From what we know, most sports teams don't have the ability to aggregate all this data real time. And so in North America, 49ers are the only team in North America to do this. And then we have SAP has worked with a soccer team, Hoffenheim, in Europe to deploy Venue Analytics as well. So for right now, we have a lot of interest from teams, but it's tip of the spear technology. 49ers are the only one in North America to have deployed this.
All right, and we have a question from Dennis. You may have already answered this, Mike, but how long does a typical project take?
So the project, we like to do these projects within 90 days, right? We like to fail fast, as they say, in building a minimally viable prototype, getting something working, getting something operational, getting as many days as we can in those first 90 days, and getting the dashboard live so that we're able to iteratively get feedback from the stakeholders, whether that's the ops team, whether that's the security team, the marketing team, and really understanding, what do they want to see in those KPIs. For the 49ers, we went live at a soccer game, and then we used it for a concert, and then we used it for pre-games. And with each game, we learned how in-room, in-game decisions were made and adjusted the KPIs and the visualizations as such. So typical project to implement is that 8 to 12-week time frame to get data sources connected and get the solution stood up and get it deployed, get it architected and designed correctly. And then we incrementally innovate in the weeks and games afterwards.
All right, great. If we don't have any more questions, we're going to give you a little bit of your time back. All right, so we wanted to say a great big thank you to everybody who joined us. And again, thank you to Mike. If I didn't mention it before, everybody will be receiving a fully edited copy of the video. So if you had to step away for a second or you missed a slide, don't worry. We'll be giving you an edited copy. And on your way out, you'll see a comment box. We'd love to hear what you thought of the presentation. And if there's any other subjects or services you would like us to explore in 2019, as this is our last webinar of 2018. So definitely give us a little bit of insight in terms of what you thought about everything in the comment box. And at that, I'm going to say thank you again to everybody who joined us. And big thanks to Mike. And everybody have a great weekend and a great holiday. And we will see you in 2019. Thanks so much.